with Dean. Today we're going to talk about one of the most common problems with a series cart, um, and it's really the weak link in the cart. They do pretty well, and this is a pretty good design. I built a lot of these DSs and carryalls, but the forward reverse switch is a weak link in these things. And generally, if you keep all these connections tight, you won't have any problems with them. The problem is they bounce around. These ends get burned up looking. They get moisture in there. The cable swells. Ends up with a bad contact, either here on the back of this switch, and I'm about to take it off. Um, when that happens, loose connections in these carts create, uh, resistance, and it burns the base of this plastic. These connectors get hot, and it'll burn the plastic, and these things will recede to where they're not making contact with the buttons that are under here. There's a spring that holds all this together, but when these get hot and sink in, they don't make good contact. And in this particular cart, I've already had this apart once. Looking at it, um, the first thing you notice is this thing will get stuck in the gear, and it'll be stuck in forward or reverse wherever it is, and you'll know right then that something got hot, or maybe it didn't stick, but you got solenoid clicking, everything's working, you got power here, and you're just not able to get forward. Sometimes it's forward, sometimes it's reverse, sometimes it's both. In this case, the forward post got hot. It would still go in reverse, but the forward post got hot, and it melted the connections down here on the bottom, and it has caused this cart to be trailered and needing to be repaired. Now these switches, um, there's some controversy on which replacement pieces you can buy. I'm not positive. I think this is a discontinued item from Club Car. You'll see these for sale everywhere from $30 on Amazon to $140 on Buggies Unlimited, or um, some of the other cart specific websites. Um, they all look pretty similar. There are some differences in the thickness of the bus bars and some other things, and I'll show you once we get this off here in a few minutes. Um, this particular switch, I put it on here. It's a $130 Red Hawk brand switch, and it really doesn't matter what brand you get. If you let a connection get loose, it's going to burn it up. I chose not to go back with this Red Hawk switch. I've used numerous different switches. This time I bought a $35 10 LOL forward and reverse switch, uh, marketed as heavy duty. And that switch is right here. And generally when you see one that's heavy duty or says it's heavy duty, they're talking about these copper bus bars and the thickness of them. This particular switch, I bought it without the handle. I don't need it. You can buy it with the handle. This one has all the micro switches on it. It appears to be correct. Um, so I'm going to clean up some of these cable ends here because this is a problem. It doesn't look like it, and it's probably still making contact, but there's going to be some resistance here and some heat buildup from these cable ends that are bad. They swell up, they get corrosion inside. I'm going to try to, if I have enough wire length, I'm going to cut these off, replace all the connectors, crimp on new copper connectors, and we'll see if we can get this cleaned up and working correctly. There's a lot of reviews on these things um, on the internet, and a lot of them say, well, I don't have reverse, or I don't have forward. Well, we're going to do this together, and we're going to see if this 10 LOL switch is going to work in lieu of a $130 switch. Not much different. I do like the Red Hawk brand because I think the plastics are heavier. Just not economical to put a $130 switch in here every time you burn one up. Um, if this switch will work for $40, um, it's worth it. If I can't get it to work, then it's going back and I'll order another Red Hawk. Just don't see enough differences. I've had these apart numerous times and cleaned up the contact in them. This one is built exactly like the OEM part. It even appears as so that the copper um, is somewhat decent. Now, I do understand that it's some of the actual copper uh, content that makes these different than other ones. But if they're going to continue to burn up once or twice, in a year or two, um, I'm not going to keep buying $130 switches. So I'll take y'all with me and we'll get this in here and see if we can get it to act like it's supposed to act, and see if we can get it fixed. So bear with me. Let me get some stuff and we'll get on it. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is you do want to disconnect your battery. This 48 volts, you can melt some stuff or cause quite a big spark. I'm going to try to see if I can get this camera down here so you can see, but I'm going to try to dress up these cable ends and get them off of here. These are 8mm here on the back side of these on this forward reverse switch. This is an 8mm. If you'll get yourself an 8 and a 10, you'll be in business here. Now this end is it's been doctored up a couple of times, but it's garbage. I need to fix it. This is not the problem in this particular case, but it's a problem. So I'm gonna try to get it off here. It's this sticky stuff and these self-adhesive things is tough to get off. I'm gonna try to save as much of this cable as I can because they're a little bit short. See if I can get some of this off here without trashing the entire cable. It still looks pretty good under here, but you can see it's corroded a little bit. I'm going to clean all it up, clip it off, and try to put a new end on here. You might not think that a little bit of corrosion is going to hurt, but these contactors, they're really sensitive to good connections. The entire golf cart really can't stress enough how much you need to keep all these things tight and clean, because that resistance, these things just don't do well with any kind of resistance. These series carts are my favorite carts. There's not a lot on them to go wrong once you get used to what makes them go. I'm hoping I don't cut this too short. But for rebuilding carts and as far as buying a $300 or $400 cart, these are a fun project because you can buy mostly everything on them fairly cheap. There's probably nothing you can't fix with a little common sense and a multimeter. I'm not a golf cart mechanic, but I've had some experience on these things now. And let me get these big cable clippers. See if I can't clip this off. I'm just going to cut it off and try to clean that up a little bit. Ordinarily, I'd clip way down there, but I just don't have a lot of room to play with here. get down to some of that clean cable. And I won't bore you with all these. I'll do this one on camera. And this looks pretty clean under here. Nice uncorroded cable there. I don't know if you can see that down there or not. Yeah. It's pretty clean and uncorroded there. So let me see if I can get the right connection here. This really needs to be clean. Put this over here. Almost not big enough here. Let me get the rest of that trash off of there. I don't know if you can see that's all glue from that old shrink wrap. Maybe I can get it over there now. These are not the best quality shrink wrap that I have, but it's what fits. We're going to put one of these new 4-gauge connectors on there. And I'm going to take my crimpers. These crimpers are a good investment if you're working on golf carts. And I've used them on tractor batteries and everything else. It's worth having in your kit if you can swing it. They're not very expensive. Kind of hard to get in here with these. See if I can do this without running 2 or 3 of them. That's really not 4-gauge. I don't know what that is, but let's see if I got something better to fit that. All right, so you use some 6-gauge connectors here. Thought they were 4-gauge, but they're not. Well, see if I can get this on there without dropping it for you. Kind of hard to get down in there where we're at. But let me see if I can get that crimped on there the right way. There we go. Yeah, I don't like that. Let me shrink it down one more. That's pretty tight. I'm gonna try that one more time. I don't like these crimpers as much as my last pair. Just doesn't seem to get it real tight. Maybe I've got the wrong crimper on there, or the wrong fitting. Just don't want any looseness going on there at all. Okay, that looks decent. I'm gonna heat that up with a heat gun. Get that covered up real good. It looks a little better. Keep that moisture out of there. All right. That looks a little better. Now, I've done enough of these where I know where they go, but I would suggest if you don't know, just do these one at a time as you take them off the other one. And that way you don't have to worry about it. This is an 8. Put that one on there. And we're going to tighten these up because they're made to slip and they're made to move. So make sure you get your connection tight, but that thing spins on there as you turn your selector. Okay. All right. Now I won't bore you with the rest of them. I'm going to go ahead and replace the ends on the other ones, and I'll be back with you. Okay, I didn't end up replacing the orange wire here because I just don't feel like I have enough. I almost cut off too much of the blue one. It looks like somebody's done it before. So let me go ahead and get this switch out of here, the old one. And it's just a Phillips screwdriver on the factory one. And these nuts in the back are inset into the plastic, so you don't have to worry about a backer wrench. These things just come out like that. And then we're going to get in here. And there's a lot of schematics online about where all these things go. I'm going to do it right here so we don't make any mistakes. In the back of this, you can see, I don't know if you can see that real well or not. This is the one that I found was loose. It had gotten hot and burned the contact up. But when I first diagnosed this car, this was loose. I had to tighten it up. And if you look down in here, you can see it's melted pretty good. That white wire goes on the bottom. That's going to be a 10 millimeter. Let me get a wrench and get it off of there. That's a 10. We'll go ahead and get that loose and check these connections. I think I got enough on there. Well, it's supposed to be a 10. It's not a 10. Maybe that's the 8 and this is the 10. Let me get something a little bit bigger. Try that. Yeah. We'll try that. 7/16. It's a 10 on some of them. Okay. That's nice and tight now because I tightened it up. But that was the problem in this particular one. We were down riding on the beach one time, and it took a long, slow ride. And you can see here, it's kind of connection's still real good though. I think I'm gonna try to shrink wrap that with a new piece. All right, after looking at that, I decided here again not to cut any more of that wire off. Because it's a little short. It looks like somebody's trimmed these before. I need to get another cable set for this cart. I'm gonna make sure I put this lock washer on the top to keep this thing from backing out and getting loose. Go ahead and put this one right back where I got it from. Some of the complaints online were that if you upgrade cables, the spots for these cables to go through in these aftermarket switches are not big enough in these slots. But for the factory cables, these are fine. That is a 10, not a 7/16 on the new switch, and I'm gonna crank down as much as I can there. Okay, we got that one, and this other connection does look good. I'm not gonna change it. I'm gonna take it loose and swap them over. I got those nice and tight last time because that's one of them that burned up before. You know, just riding around, these things get to bouncing around and will naturally get loose. So if you're doing a little maintenance on your cart or whatever, get in there and take a good look at them. You have to take the switch off to get in the back of here to do this. So a lot of people overlook checking these connections, but make sure your lock washers are on there when you do it and get them nice and snug, because these are notorious for loosening up over time. Like, we definitely don't need to be trimming this one. It's super short. Lock washer and a little 10mm nut. I have some previous videos where I took these apart. They're not always damaged beyond repair. You can take the roll pin out of the back of them and fix a lot of these switches. I've even put a washer underneath the back side of the plastics where they melted down and raised up the contactor a little bit. But you got to take the switch apart to do it. It's kind of a pain in the ass to do that. Let me get these nice and snug. But it's kind of a pain to take them apart. The problem is not getting them apart. The problem is putting that roll pin back through there, and there's a spring that compresses it. And I got a video on that if you want to see it. But matter of fact, this switch here, right after I got it, I let something get loose, and this pin heated up, and I took it apart and took that contactor out and put a washer underneath it, raised it up so where it was making good contact. But this one's toast now. 2 different contacts burn up in it. So I'll keep the parts for maybe some spare parts later or something. I'm going to swap these one by one and make sure I get them in the right spot. A lot of people have to start looking up schematics and stuff when they just yank all these off. I'm just going to do them one at a time and make sure I get them right. So I'm going to go with this blue one. And see, it's orange here, but it's blue here. That's what gets people confused, orange and blue. And then let's do this other one on here, this black one. The black one on that contactor on the second one, the black one is connected to a red and white wire. The black one connected to this red and white wire here. So I got that one done. I'm just doing one at a time. And then what I got left is a green, white, and black wire. I'm going to do this green one. It's actually attached to a Club Car blue wire. Don't know why they don't put them the same, but I guess they don't get it right all the time. So my green wire's done. I need this, the white wire is going to go to a white wire here. And then the only one I got left is a black wire. I'm sorry, it is black. The factory wire is black, and we're going to go back to another black wire on this aftermarket switch. So one at a time, they've all been done. And what we end up with here is just, these micro switches are still good. I tested them out before I took this apart. You can see right here, this is melted and it's no longer making good contact here. And it's certainly melted out right here. And you see how low that contact, that's the forward drive contact. It is melted completely down underneath where the contactor can't reach it anymore. And this is real common what happens to these. And that plastic will coat the contactor and then it just won't work at all. And this one is burnt right here. So it got real loose and got real hot, probably on a long, slow ride. You know, I'll keep this and use it for parts. I've rebuilt several of these. The contactors are still good on this side. These are trash, but I've actually used this as a contactor out of an old switch that I put back in there the first time I burned it up. Anyway, keep your connections tight. You won't have the issue that I had here. You know, we'll see if this works. Like I said, there's a lot of back and forth on the internet about whether these are worth a crap or not. I guess we're about to find out. And we'll see if these are gonna do the trick. If it lasts a good while, I'll be happy with it. These are Nylock. The ones that came in the factory are Nylock, so they don't come out, but they just sit down in these plastic sleeve, or the little sleeve for them here, so you don't have to back them. You can just turn them with a screwdriver once you get them in there. There's that one. Got one more out here. And hopefully we're going to be in business here. So we get this all back together. These things are just cheaper built than the factory ones, but I think, like I was saying, I think the factory Club Car parts in these are discontinued, which is a shame because everything they made, they were really expensive too. I remember putting them in back when you could get them, and they're expensive, but the bus bars were really, really good in them. They were big, and I guess the Chinese just hadn't quite dedicated themselves to a bigger bus bar. And then sometimes the contacts, the springs in here weren't strong enough for some of these aftermarket parts. I guess we're going to find out here in just a minute. if this one's going to work or not. Now let me put the handle back on. Let me take you back over here. This is done. I just swapped out wire for wire, changed a couple of the connectors, made sure they were good, kind of waterproofed them a little bit. Um, but just do one at a time. You won't get confused as to what they are. Um, on this side, now what we got is just the handle sticking out there. And I've lost one of these screws before, and it's kind of a weird thread. Took me a while to find another one to go back in there. So now we're just going to stick the handle back on there. Like this. And then we're going to tighten this back up. Just like that. So the fix is pretty easy if you can just remember to get the wires right. Not that big of a deal. The more of a deal is finding a decent switch. So let me get this power hook back up and see if we got anything to work with here. All right, so the switch is in. It's installed correctly. It's making contact, but I can tell you the reviews are spot on this piece because we're not getting any forward and reverse, and there's a very small window of where it makes contact. Now I'm going to jiggle that switch, and I'm going to make it work here in a minute. Now the micro switches are accurate. They're on. There is a very small window of where this thing will go forward at. I've done it a couple times here. I'm going to rub that contact back and forth. It's just not making contact. Now, it sparked really good in the reverse section a while ago. Right here. Get it down here. No. Nothing there. Nothing there. The contactor's on it. It's just not making contact. Now we got click. Still nothing. Still nothing. Let me see if I can make that go forward once and I can prove it. There it goes. So right now, right where that contactor is, we're doing okay. It goes forward. But if that thing's not in the exact right position, it's not working. So I'm going to try to rough up those contacts with a piece of sandpaper and see what's going on. I still don't have reverse, which is a common complaint on this 10 LOL switch. And if I can't rough it up and make it work with some emery paper or something like that, then it's going back. And I knew this when I watched, after I looked at the reviews, but I wanted to see exactly what was happening with it. And either the spring is not strong enough to hold that contactor against the plate, or those contactors are recessed too much so that they're just not making good contact. Now you could probably fix that. I'm not gonna, because I bought this thing, by taking it apart and putting a washer underneath that contactor and making it stick up another 1/8 inch. You could probably fix this switch. I'm not interested in fixing their stuff for them. But the option is a $130 switch. So let me see what I can do with it, and I'll let you guys know what I come up with. So as you can see, that's a total fail, and I'm just tired of dealing with these lever switches. They're the weak point. So do yourself a favor. There is another option. Go to revolutiongolfcars.com. Go down to the solenoids, diodes, and resistors section and select the SW182 lever to rocker conversion kit. It's a little expensive, but a much better system. It's going to convert it to the same system like an IQ has. It's basically just a remote switch and a reverse contactor. Um, Select the one for your controller. They make one for high amperage carts, but select the one depending on which amperage you are. If you're over 400, then you need to select a different kit. It's a little more expensive. Uh, this is going to accommodate the big tires and the lift kit and all those things. One of the problems why I keep burning up these switches is, those tires and stuff like that, riding off road, they're just not designed to carry that kind of amperage. So this will solve that problem. This will accommodate it. It's going to eliminate the weak link. Um, and it's going to give the car a little more modern look. I've heard good things about these, so stay tuned. I'm going to order this, and in my next video, I'm going to go through how to convert this lever style, just do away with it, and utilize this remote switch and a reversing contactor. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned. The next video, I'll install this.